The Voyager restaurant and motel has been a landmark in Schreiber for nearly 5 decades. This iconic red spire has welcomed many tourists and locals over the years. When stores closed years ago, it felt like a part of the town had died. That is until Takreem Mazar came along. She bought the place around 3 years ago and has been slowly restoring it back to its original glory. The VOY, as it was always known to the locals, has been lovingly restored with remodeled hotel suites, brand new convenience store, and of course, the restaurant, which finally opened its doors recently. So I'm going to go inside and talk to Takreem and find out not only why did she come to Schreiber, but how she managed to take on a project like this by herself over the last couple of years.
Oh, fantastic.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm talking with Takreem Mazar. She's the current owner of the VOY, and we're going to find out what inspired her to come to Schreiber and take over this place and get it going. Hi, Takreem.
Hi, Kim. How are you?
I'm very well. It's such a pleasure. Thanks for taking time to talk to
Well,
us.
thank you for asking. This is fabulous.
Listen, the first thing I'd like to know is where are you from?
So I'm originally from Pakistan, but I've been brought up in Dubai, and now I'm here.
How long have you been in Canada?
It's been 3 years now.
3 years. In Schreiber?
In Schreiber.
Now, my question is, why Schreiber?
You know, when some certain things are meant to be, they're meant to be. Life has a way of kind of guiding you to where you're supposed to go. I always knew I wanted to move to Canada, and we were constantly looking for opportunities, business opportunities. And Schreiber kind of fell into our lap after multiple things that didn't work out. So it was meant to be. It worked out perfectly.
One of the things about a smaller town is the size of the population versus sustainability of the business. And it would seem this place sat empty for quite a long time. As the town population was dying out, it just didn't seem that sustainable. How do you think that you will address that issue, or what have you seen that makes you think that this can be an actual sustainable?
So I don't think we're looking at the right customer base. I don't think our customer base is only Schreiber or Terrace Bay. It's the highway. We're on Highway 17. So we're looking all the traffic that moves up north and west and down and then down east again and surrounding areas. And there is a lot of movement here. Also, another thing is Schreiber and Terrace Bay have a lot of untapped potential, natural beauty-wise, sports, activities, tourism-wise. It's crazy. I mean, people don't realize how beautiful it is. Funny thing is, there are some reviews on my business page and everything that say, "Oh, there's nothing to do." And when I read that, I start laughing because I'm like, there is so much to do that you can't stay here for 2-3 days. Even if you stay for a week, the trails don't end. And even that's just summer. In winter, you've got ice fishing. You can still go for hikes. You can go to the beach. It's stunning, and it's unappreciated. Or untapped potential.
And it's nice that you've discovered that coming into the area, because a lot of people who live here don't even realize it sometimes.
Well, maybe they've been brought up with it.
Yeah.
So there's a saying in Urdu, but it would be hard to translate. I'm trying to think of a way to translate it, because we say it in Urdu like "Ghar ki murgi dal barabar." But what it basically means is when you have lentil soup at home, when you have chicken at home, it feels like lentil soup because you don't appreciate it. So in Dubai, because it's so materialistic, beautiful in its own regard, luxurious in its own regard, but it's more materialistic. That's the best way to describe it. And the natural beauty is really appreciated when you come from outside to a different space.
And it's funny because I spent some time in Dubai, and one of the things that absolutely blew me away, I was living in Africa at the time.
I remember.
And when I got there, I just couldn't believe the amount of things that are there. Like literally, we visited a mall, and inside there was a ski resort inside of a mall.
Yes.
So it's like you
And
have
that's only
you have everything in this place that's in the middle of the desert, but yet everything costs money as well. And that's the
Yes.
other thing. If you don't have
and
the
everything's
cash,
man-made.
yeah, completely
So,
artificial.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got it all here. You don't need to make anything. This place is gorgeous.
It reminds me of Las Vegas, Dubai.
Oh yeah, Las Vegas on steroids. That's the way. We've got the dancing fountain. Now they've got the Dubai Eye instead of the London Eye, and bigger. So yeah, Dubai's always competing.
So why did you decide on the VOY as opposed to any other business in town that might have been open? And again, we kind of touched on it with the tourism and everything.
Yes, but just like Schreiber, the VOY had a lot of untapped potential. One of the first and most important thing is location. You can change everything else, but you can never change the place that is where it's located unless you pick it up in a trailer like the house.
We're literally right on the highway. Everybody who goes across
Exactly,
Canada has to go past the VOY.
Exactly. And then there's a lot of goodwill, like the untangible. When I came here and checked out the VOY, this was in October of 2018, and just everyone I spoke to just had so many wonderful things to say about the memories that they had here. Everyone's had a job here, everyone's had food here. I mean, ever since I've opened, I've just been getting more and more stories. People have come and stayed with us and said, oh, I used to go and eat in this restaurant, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And how wonderful is that? That me and my husband used to travel through. We used to stay here, we used to eat here. And it's just, that kind of thing cannot be bought.
Yeah.
It's impossible.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky I stumbled onto it.
Well, the VOY was always an icon in town. I remember it was built probably around the mid-'60s. I'm not exactly sure.
Yes.
But it became an overnight sensation. It literally was during that era where people were just traveling up and down the highways and all. It being a corporate company, the big giant red dome on the top was like a trademark that you could spot it a mile away. I think it was Esso gas stations at the time owned the chain of the different VOYs. And I don't even know that there's many Voyager restaurants or Voyager establishments still in Canada. But I know the one in Schreiber was always referred to as the VOY. That became its name. And it was so nice that you picked up on that and you kept the name The VOY because that's how people know it.
Yeah.
But it has a real iconic place in the history of the town.
Yeah, you want to tap into the charm of what's already there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is such a charming place and such a charming town. Why not?
Let's talk a bit about the history of the VOY. I remember as a kid growing up, this was just big empty fields back here. And I had an aunt who had a house here, and there were two brothers, the Glad brothers, the family, that started the business. And they moved one of the houses across town, and then they started, I think, with I'm not sure if they had the hotel first, or if this building was established first, the restaurant part of the gas station.
I'm not sure, but I think I've seen some photographs, and I think the hotel was first.
It might have been, yeah.
Yeah, and then they added this building.
Then they added this building.
Yeah, and I heard that the building, I think it was this building where they were making the foundation, and a storm came, and if the foundation broke, I think, and they had to redo it. I mean, how crazy is that? You put in all that hard work
and start again.
Oh my God! And you know what? The foundations are fantastic. This building has solid bones.
Yeah. And I know the other thing that happened is over the years there was many owners of the VOY.
Yes.
Because I don't know when the Glad family gave it up, but there was at least 2 or 3 owners after that had tried to keep the place going. And then eventually, I think, was it maybe 4 or 5 years ago that I don't know how many years it did sit empty. 5 years ago.
So it was empty for 2 years before we
and
got
then
it.
Had it now for
then
3.
we've had it for 3.
So yeah, so around 5 years ago, the building literally was just left derelict and to sit.
Yes.
Hoping to have someone come by and revive it, which of course you did.
Yes.
Or in the process of doing.
Yeah. In the process.
But the other thing is, it's interesting. One of the residents in Schreiber, who was the daughter of one of the Glad brothers, lives literally behind the hotel because that family home, they used to just walk across the front yard to come into the business when they're operating the business.
Right.
Glenda still lives there.
Yes. Oh, she's fantastic. We call her our guardian angel because she's always got an eye out for us. Literally, some of the bricks were falling out of the building while we were trying to do some repairs. And she's like, oh, I think you need these bricks. She just came over with bricks.
She had spare parts.
I mean, that was fantastic. And she's always got an eye out for us. If she sees something concerning, she'll mention it to us. She gives us ideas. You can use this kind of lighting. This is what I'm using. We're very, very lucky to have her close by and to be in such good terms with her.
Good. Now, when you opened the business, you got it going. You obviously had to start from a certain point. And you've got a hotel here, technically 2 hotels because there's a hotel across the street.
Yes.
You've got a variety shop, you've got a laundromat,
Yes.
there was a gas station at one point as well, and a restaurant. So now, how did you pick, what am I going to revive first?
Do you know the best way to eat an elephant?
Ooh, I wouldn't have a clue. From the top down?
Break it into parts. So you just take.
But what I meant was it a deliberate decision to start with the hotel first?
Yes.
Because that seemed
Yes.
fairly obviously in retrospect now.
Yeah, hindsight is easier. We were debating that whether to do the cafe first or the motel.
Mm-hmm.
We eventually went with the motel. Lucky we went with that choice. It was easier.
Mm.
And it's helped us slowly get the cash in to put the money back into the business, because that's all we've been doing, is putting money back into the business to kind of get the structure done right and safely.
Yeah.
And up to code.
Yeah. And your next step was the variety store or the laundromat? I think it was the variety store.
Yes,
did
it was
next,
the variety store, then we did the laundromat, now we're doing the cafe, and then we have the old motel to fix.
And I remember the old variety store that they had. It was also, they had the gas pumps out front as well. What was your vision for what that store should be? Because I have to say, it looks really beautiful inside, and you did a great job of renovating it. And the stuff that you have in there, those quirky little items that you managed to source. I mean, I don't know where you got the ideas from, but it's turned into a really lovely little, it's almost like a boutique shop more than anything else.
Thank you very much. And it's been a big learning process. When we first opened it, I was thinking more along the grocery lines, and then with COVID hitting and us having to close and everything expiring, so you have to take certain hits and losses, and I've made bad decisions, but I've learned from them. The whole important thing is that you have to pivot. As a startup, you have to be ready to pivot and go back on your decisions and change your mind at a moment's notice based on all the information you've gathered, because that's how you do business.
Let's just talk about COVID for a second, because you literally came to Schreiber months before this epidemic hit, trying to open a business, and it's like, you couldn't have probably picked the worst time to have done it. I mean, really, when you think about everything that was going on around, and there, plop, I think I'm going to open up a business in town while everybody's at home.
I actually, in many ways, I was lucky that I came in 2019 and I got that whole year to do the renovations. Because if I was trying to renovate during COVID times, it would have been very difficult.
So that may have been a blessing,
yes.
actually, that you had that.
Thing turns out in a blessing in many ways. So when we opened finally at the start of February, and then COVID hit in March. So we had just opened and we were still fixing things and getting rooms up and running when COVID hit. So I had to do a lot of the stuff on my own. It was hard. I used to cry. I would call my father and cry. Be like, this is so hard. But you know what? Looking back, that is the best thing that could have happened to me, because I had to be part of every single thing. I had to clean rooms, I had to handle the reservations in the daytime, in the nighttime, and over that entire experience, the amount I have learned, I couldn't learn that even in my MBA.
You literally went from the ground up.
Yes,
right, from entry level.
And I learned every single aspect of the business. So this is knowledge that's going to go with me forever.
And had you been in the hotel industry or even the retail, obviously you had some experience in the retail industry, but it would be quite different than this. But the hotel industry, that must have been a big leap for you to get into that.
Well, sort of. In Dubai, we have worked with service departments, but it's a completely different ballgame than a motel. And I realized how much so when I came here. One of the things that is the best thing that has happened to me is that I had no clue what I was doing. Thank God. If I knew, I might have been scared off.
Yeah.
You sometimes just need to dive in. And I was lucky to be clueless enough to think that I knew enough to dive in and then learn on the way.
And now you came here on your own as well, which was very interesting, because being a woman especially, and from the Middle East, to go out on your own on this venture is quite extraordinary. I would think. And now you've been joined, of course, by your husband.
Yes. So I'm very, very lucky. My father is a big hand in that. He convinced me. He was like, "Yeah, you can do it. It's easy." And you know the foolishness of youth. Oh yeah, it'll be easy. Thank God for the foolishness of youth because it helps. And yeah, as long as you don't know you can't do it,
Mhm.
you can do it.
Mhm. Don't let nothing stop you.
Yeah, just don't do too much research.
And now having your husband here,
Oh yeah.
has that changed the dynamic a bit for you? Has it had an impact on how you feel about living here? Because I can imagine that first year must have been like lonely, terrifying, like really scared. You're in a strange place by yourself. Now you've almost got a little bit more of a support structure, an emotional support structure, I'm sure, as well.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, with my husband being here, I'm a lot more relaxed and a lot more comfortable because I can share the burden with him. But then I do have to mention that the past 2 years, I haven't been alone. I have a support structure here in Schreiber. I have wonderful friends who looked out for me. And, you know, I wouldn't have been able to do this without them. I mean, everyone's been willing to talk to me about the business and everything. And then I've made friends along the way. And they stop by constantly just to check up on me. Who's that? I mean, in the city, no one would do that.
No,
They wouldn't care.
no. And a big part of it is your personality, because I know you
Oh,
weren't
you're
even
right.
here for a month. And everybody knew you, but you knew everybody as well. I remember going into the store and you're talking to every person in the store. You know who they are. It's like you've lived here forever. It was the strangest thing to see.
I think that you're giving me too much credit. I think a lot of credit goes to the people here that how friendly they are. Because I'm a stranger coming from outside, and I want to make friends. They don't need to. They've got their friends. They've got their life. But they wanted to be friends with me. They wanted to know about the VOY. They wanted to be involved in my life, and they watched out for me. Honestly, Schreiber is a very, very special place. I mean, I will not find the kind of warmth that I find here anywhere else in the world. And the kind of time, effort they gave to me, they checked up on me even though they, you know, I'm a stranger. But they cared. And that's what kept me going 2 years.
Yeah.
And it keeps me going now because where would I be with, because it's still only my husband. I don't have my family here. So Schreiber is now my family. I'm very blessed.
So, what are your feelings about immigrating to Canada? You know, last year particularly, there was a lot of animosity and a lot of xenophobia, especially towards Asian people. But how has your experience been coming to Canada as a foreigner? Let's use that word.
I've been very blessed, I feel. I haven't faced any issues. I was expecting it. I was steeling myself that, you know, someone's going to say something to me and then this is what I'm going to say. You know, you play those kind of scenarios in your head, you prepare yourself because you're scared.
Yeah.
And rightly so. It can turn very bad very quickly. But I was blown away, and I keep on telling everyone about my experience that I didn't face that at all. Everyone was friendly, and everyone was welcoming. And maybe that's because I came to Schreiber instead of other different area. But even when I've traveled up and down from Toronto, I haven't faced that at all. Everyone's been very welcoming and understanding of my culture. Of course, some people didn't understand it. That's why, for example, I started the hijab, which is wearing a scarf. And they just politely come up to me and ask me questions, which is the best way to address this. I mean, if you do not know something, go to the source. And they did that, and they've been supportive. And the biggest thing of all is I feel safe.
Yeah.
And that's huge.
Yeah.
And it's I feel safe here than I would have felt anywhere else, and that cannot be bought by money or anything.
Yeah. And again, like you say, you've brought a little bit of your culture to the area.
Yes.
And I think because of who you are and the way that you are, people have embraced that, and they've been very open and wanting to learn more about it, as opposed to turning their back against you or treating you different with indifference.
Again, I feel like you're giving me too much credit because it's true. I mean, you cannot. It's not me that's doing this. It's them, as they're making me feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, I brought up my concern when I was starting out the scarf that you know, I don't know how people are going to react. Someone might be, and I've had people come up to me and say, you know, if someone says something to you, come and tell me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll handle it.
Yeah.
I was so shocked. I was so happy.
Mm-hmm.
It made me feel so welcome. and it made me feel safe enough to practice my religion without any restrictions.
Or any animosity.
Any animosity, and I knew if anyone was having issues, they'd at least ask me about it, and I could give them an honest answer. And they would be able to listen to it because they're really listening. They're not asking for the sake of asking. They really want to know.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. That
No, it
is truly amazing.
No, you've made an impact here. You're opening people's minds, and that's very important. So one of the things about opening a business in Schreiber, it provides employment opportunities for people. Can you talk about that? You've employed quite a few people already, and in its heyday, the VOY was a big employer in the town, and it's almost like you're recreating that history 25 years later.
Oh, absolutely. We need people. Anyone looking for a job out there, please come apply. We definitely need people. I am very blessed to have a good team, a solid team that I'm building, and the most important thing is that you have a cohesive team that thinks alike and works together and is happy.
One of the things that Schreiber had been missing for a long, long time was good laundromat facilities. And lately there's been a huge influx of workers working on a lot of big projects across the whole Northwest area. And that was always a problem. Where do I do my damn laundry? So I noticed you've opened a laundry downstairs
Yes,
as well.
absolutely. We've got 4 new washers, 4 new dryers, and it's just 3 for a wash, 3 for a dry. And it's been doing really well. I mean, people have been appreciating it, and we're trying to maintain it. And yeah, if you need your laundry, come to the VOY.
One of the things that you're doing is very interesting, an environmental project that you have, let's say.
We are big on the environment here. We wanted to even use environmental cleaning products, but because of COVID we can't. But our amenities are all in biodegradable packaging. We're not using plastic bags, we're only using paper bags. For the cafe, I'm hoping to use more paper products rather than plastic and steer clear of it as much as possible. It's always a balancing game. You've got to be cost effective and you've got to give the best product to the customer, but you also want to be as environmentally friendly as possible because this is the planet we all share. We've got to save it.
Yeah.
And one step is a step still in the right direction.
So how difficult was it for you making the decisions on renovating the motel rooms? Because they were obviously, I saw one day you were throwing everything out. All the old junk was thrown out. It was all sent for recycling and to disposal. But now all of the rooms have been redone and they look just beautiful.
Oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And to answer your question very, very, very straightforward, it was very hard. Every aspect, I was just taking so much time thinking over what can we do. And then I had team members constantly giving me input. Thank God for that, because without them, it would have been a lot harder. Let me give you an example. Our mattresses, we took 3 months. I'm not even exaggerating. 3 months to decide over it. My team members were getting very frustrated with me, but I was like, it's critical because everything affects how it's going to be, and then it's going to be there with you for at least 10 years, 7 to 10 years, right? So 3 months and a trip to Toronto. That's how long it took to decide on the mattresses. And then now you can imagine about the other stuff as well.
Well, I know how long you spent just on color,
Yes.
selecting the colors for
my
the rooms.
God,
I walked in
spent
while you
so
were still
much
renovating.
money on those tiny quartz. We actually made our own color.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because we couldn't find the color that we wanted, and then we just mixed 2 colors together out of desperation, and desperate times gives you a reward.
Because it's so nice. Even you put all new storm windows on, new doors.
yes.
It just looks fantastic.
Thank you very
You
much.
really saved the place.
And you know what? It's not me. It's the people I was surrounded by. I was very, very lucky to get lots of good advice, and I was smart enough to listen. and yeah, this is the end result. So lots and lots of good advice and a lot of help from everyone.
Now I want to talk a little bit about the contracting part of it, because in a small town like Schreiber, a lot of residents will tell you just to get someone to come over and install a stove or to change some wiring, it's almost impossible because there aren't enough contractors around. You were very lucky that you actually found people to do the work.
Yes, I was very lucky. I got a lot of word of mouth recommendations and a lot of different people to work on the different parts. But that's a lot of luck, and I think people put in a good word for me. So that was how I got a lot of people to come in and help me out.
So the last phase of this whole renovation and rebirth of the VOY, seems to be the restaurant. Now that was in its time a meeting place for almost everybody in town. Everybody would come here. They'd sit down, whether it was just for a cup of coffee like we're doing now, but it was like a really welcoming and a homey spot. And the place was constantly full of people just to sit and chat and everything. I see that now work is being done on the restaurant. And can you tell me a bit about that?
Yes, we are working very, very, very hard. Did I emphasize how very hard we're working on it?
Well, it's all new equipment in the back.
Yes, we've done the flooring, we've put in new lighting. I'm trying to create an atmosphere which is comfortable. It's going to be more of a cafe rather than a restaurant, because that's what is manageable with the current workforce. As you know, with a restaurant, it is hard to open, and opening a restaurant in a remote location is even harder.
And there was a time in Schreiber where there literally, and I couldn't guess the time because I've only been back here myself for 5 years, but there literally was no restaurant in Schreiber. And all of a sudden you got one about 2 years ago.
Thank God for fillings. I've been there many times.
And then now a second one.
Yes.
And Breeze, of course, in
And
town
Breeze,
as well.
yes.
as a
Oh,
coffee shop.
fantastic food.
Yeah.
We've been lucky that we have a few options, and I hope to add one more to the mix. So everyone has multiple options, and that's better for my other businesses in town and for myself as well.
And it helps to give the town a little bit more, because when you're looking at economic development, that kind of infrastructure for those businesses are very important to be able to drive other businesses and attract other businesses.
Absolutely. My motel would not have been able to survive without Breeze, without Fillings, without Robbins. We need more businesses in town so that everyone can prosper together.
And that brings me to our next point, and that is any advice you might have for any new residents or businesses coming to Schreiber. And don't say, don't do it.
Actually, I would say dive right in, don't think too much, and somehow things will work out. That's what I've seen. And like sometimes, I don't know if this is a good way to put it, but saying stupid, which I did, really helped.
So thanks to Cream again for taking the time with us. I really appreciate it, and good luck on everything you've done. And congratulations on reviving the VOY and bringing back a very important part of Schreiber and being part of our community history.
Thank you so much for accepting me for my interview, and I'm lucky to be here.
Cheers. We're lucky to have you.